Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Press Playbook, where we bring on a different BAM team member each week to talk about some of the rad placements they've gotten for their clients. Today, we have on Briana, who recently helped get her client a digital and print placement in the New York Times. Let's see how she did it. Hey, Briana, so happy to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Kendall. It's great to be on.
Totally. I'm really excited to highlight this rad placement you got. So, before we jump into that, tell us a little bit about you, your role at BAM, and what you do there, and who your clients are mostly.
Fantastic. So I am an account director at BAM. I am the strategic lead on our health tech practice. So I specifically work with health tech, digital health, wellness companies who are venture backed on BAM's practice. So that's where I'm specialized in and have been for probably about 7 years now. So a lot of my clients are within that digital health realm. So I have clients like Canvas Medical, AutoIVF, who we're talking about today, Epicor Biosystems, to name a few.
I feel like the wellness slash digital health space is such a fun space to be in, especially now. I feel like
Yeah,
everything is blowing up. So
it
I'm
really
jealous.
is. And I got into the industry specifically because I feel like digital health, you have that outcome that you can witness and experience. You're making change across multiple people's lives, whether that's within the hospital system and providers or the end user being a consumer or a patient. It's great to see my work having an actual impact in the companies that I'm representing, making real change for people across the globe.
It's fun to see the end to end, which is
Mhm.
great. So let's jump into Auto IVF. Tell us
Yes.
a little bit about them, what they do, and all that.
Yes. So Auto IVF, in a simple term, is a fertility company that is developing automated solutions for reproductive medicine. So, like IVF, something that so many families and women are currently going through who are looking for more accessible, more cost effective ways to experience or have that process done. So, they've created a technology that automates the egg retrieval process essentially.
That's amazing. And I feel like IVF is more on the rise. So it's awesome that we have a company that we can work with that will
Yeah.
the epitome of everything that a lot of women do go through, which is great.
Yeah,
So
and they
let's
are really changing the future of fertility care. So it's great
totally.
to be kind of at the forefront with them. And they have their founding team is amazing. They come from a scientific background, so they're all PhDs, doctors, so they really have that credibility as well that a lot of innovative technologies within healthcare really need.
Where are they based, by the way? Nationwide, or do they have a hub somewhere?
So they're headquartered in Natick, Massachusetts, so close to Boston, but they do work with accredited health systems across the nation.
Nice. So let's jump into the pitch here. What exactly were you pitching? What were the internal conversations happening to get this placement? Give us that background a little bit.
Yes, so this is a very exciting moment in time for them. They actually had a clinical study that was published in Nature Medicine, which is one of the biggest kind of peer-reviewed journals within healthcare. So we were pitching the findings of that study and the fact that it was published, and alongside a clinical outcome from that study in which their technology, which is called Ovaready, found a hidden or lost egg within a patient's follicular fluid that then they were able to have a accurate IVF cycle and then eventually have a healthy live baby that was born from this technology.
Super
So it's
interesting.
kind of twofold. Here's the big news moment and the huge uh Nature Medicine publication in and of itself, and then here's a very exciting clinical outcome that came from this study.
So how did you get linked up with New York Times? And I know you guys pitched an exclusive. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that as well.
Yes. So New York Times, everyone's kind of gold star within PR. It was very, very exciting. So we actually targeted a reporter, Pam Bellick, over at the New York Times. She is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, extremely accredited within healthcare, and she actually writes about reproductive health. So that's what initially drew us to her, because we knew that she would be able to tell the full story of IVF, everything from how difficult it can be and how taxing and important it is on the patient side of things, but then also bring in how exciting this innovation is and this Nature Medicine publication and what it means for not only this family, but also the industry as a whole. So we really wanted to nail her. And the way that we did so was kind of having what we like to call the whole story plated. So the news moment here is really the Nature Medicine case study. That is something that is monumental within the space. It shows validation, it shows a credibility, it shows that this is a technology that has been tested in a sense, and then leverage that as the focal point, as well as using the founder's extensive experience within microfluidics, which is how what Alvaretti's technology is based on, and then leveraging also that family story and the fact that they did go through this clinical study, they did have a positive outcome and did have a live birth. So it was really having multiple big kind of assets that we could throw together into a really, really well told story that in and of itself is beautiful just to read in a pitch, I would think.
A well-plated pitch. I
Yeah.
love that. So let's dive in a little bit more to Pam and to that pitch, because I have a few questions here. Was
Yeah.
Pam somebody that you guys have worked with before, or was this somebody brand new that really just fit this story in particular?
This was someone brand new. So we did some research. We made sure everyone that we were kind of looking at was someone that we felt would be able to tell this story well and really understand the complexities of reproductive medicine, and also be able to tell it with that scientific kind of language and background. So she ticked all of our boxes in that sense. And yeah, this was our first time working with her, and it was absolutely fantastic.
That's amazing, and it's great because now you have a relationship that you guys have built and made it so easy on both ends. The one question I did have, and I know you mentioned you guys gave a few different sources for her to talk to. Was there anybody else that she came back and was particularly interested in speaking with that maybe you guys didn't offer off the bat?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in our initial outreach, we offered the CEO, Dr. Kapoor, who is CEO of AutoIVF. We offered the family who had the experience with Alvaretti with AutoIVF. And then we also offered their embryologist who could speak to the process, to just being kind of in the space of IVF, what happens, in a standard method versus this automated method, and provide that more technical lens. She also then had her own network of experts that she tapped for the story as well. So, with New York Times and with a lot of these top tier national publications, they do want an unbiased view. So, they will and most likely do have a outside network that then they'll tap and have different, viewpoints, or to have them be able to look at the study and say, hey, this is what we think from an unbiased perspective.
That makes sense. And I don't know if we mentioned this in the beginning, but you guys did get that digital placement and you do have a print placement coming out.
Yeah.
With that print aspect, was there anything different that happens that wouldn't typically happen in a digital only aspect of pitching?
That's a good question. It's tricky to say. It really comes down to the contents of the story and how the story has really come together. A lot of times it's the collaboration between the company, the PR, the reporter, the editors who are putting together this beautiful story. And if it is something that the reporter or the readers gravitate well to, it oftentimes is more likely to end up in print, especially too if it's a story that is likely to garner a wide interest or national interest. A lot of times health stories do. That betters the chances too of it being in print.
Was that something that you guys pitched for it to be in print, or was that something that was offered just because she loved this story, she knew the impact of it, all that stuff?
The latter. I think they knew the impact of it and wanted to amplify it even further. It was lucky for us. It wasn't anything that we were like, hey, let's put this in print too. Pam and the team at the New York Times are great, and they kind of operate as independent journalists who can work, with the editorial team on what's going to be the most impactful for them as well. And I think this was a story that has already garnered a lot of eyeballs and is likely to, even in print.
That's amazing. And I feel like being able to get a hard copy of something that you love, for example, this founder's company, I feel like would just be something so special. So that's where I
Mhm.
want to transition this to. So what was the client's reaction? I feel like this is such a huge monumental moment for them. It's such a
Yes.
replacement. What were their thoughts on it?
It's monumental, and the climax to getting to this point, this was probably weeks to months of work that we were putting in on both sides, the company and BAM, and getting this story in such a strong place for it to then run when we had the embargo from Nature Medicine lift, because they were kind of controlling the publication, and that's the news moment that we were working with. We were kind of at their will in terms of time. So when it did finally hit, everyone was just ecstatic. I was up at 5 a.m. and reading the story, and I was amped until like 10 p.m. that night. Everyone was just so excited. It's great to put in so much time and belief and feeling into a story, and then once you see it live, the reaction and the feeling is honestly very hard to describe. But across the board, I think everyone was so excited. All of the scientific advisors at AutoIVF were thrilled about it. It's been amplified across LinkedIn, on websites. I know for me, I plan to frame the New York Times piece. So I think everyone was just so excited, and it was a beautiful moment to share, to know that we've collaborated since November on getting this story in a place where we feel so good and so excited that it's live.
It's truly a win for everyone.
It
It's a win
is.
across the board, which is so fun. We're gonna need to see that framed on your wall.
Oh, yeah.
When that comes out,
I
we'll
just
we'll
have
follow
nothing on
back
it yet because I just moved, and that's going to be the first middle of everything I look at.
the next time we have you on, we're gonna have to show that off.
Yes,
Well
I'll do a little tour. Hopefully, it'll be New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, everything.
well, Brianna, let's end this with one tip. So for any founders out there, what is one tip you have for them for landing a really solid placement?
I want to say patience is a huge tip from me. I think a lot of times we read and see all these innovations popping up in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and oftentimes those stories have taken weeks, have taken months. It's the perfect plate, as we said earlier. So making sure that you do have patience, you are being very strategic in how you're approaching these relationships as well. We don't want you to be going off and blasting a reporter about how exciting, X news moment is for you. Think through, what does this mean for the reporter, for their readers, and for the larger industry as a whole. I think this was such a great story because we had that credibility within Nature Medicine of this news moment. This is the first of this type of technology really having an impact, but then also being able to bring in the patient perspective, bring in the embryologist perspective, and having all of those different assets to tell the whole story versus having to convince Pam that this is, a great story for her to write. So patience and strategy, I think, are my one tip.
And a well-plated pitch. It all ties in.
Yes,
It all ties in.
that's
Well, Brianna,
everything.
we loved having you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing
Thank
this. This is such
you.
an exciting time for you and the team. And for everyone watching, we'll have a new BAM team member on next week. And thanks, Brianna.
Thanks, Kendall.